What's up, Michigan? Welcome back to another edition of the State Champs Michigan Poolside Podcast. My name is Lorne Plant, and as always, joined by David Zulkiewski, who's the teacher and girls head swim coach at Bloomfield Hills High School, also the webmaster of the Coaches Swim Association, known as MISCA, so you guys are well familiar. And on the show today, we're going to do a few things. We're going to be focusing on Division I girls swimming. So I know for me, working at State Champs as long as I have, one of the most fun things and the best things we get to do in the fall. Yeah, there's football and all that, but boy, I'll tell you what, the girls swimming state finals, there's an electricity that's around it. And I'm always super excited to just be there and take it in. So I figured that I would give David an opportunity to talk about what could be perceived as some of the favorites, both as teams and individuals, for the Division I state finals, which will be taking place in about 6 weeks from now. We'll then have an interview I conducted this week with Detroit Medical Center physician Britta Anderson discussing swimming injuries and, more importantly, how to prevent them. So David will then come back and we'll talk about maybe some sleepers, some underdogs heading into the state finals this season. But first, I know, David, that you had a big weekend. How did things go out there in Poolside?
Terrific. Oakland County meet, we had a wonderful meet, a lot of fast swimming, a lot of state cuts across the board, all three divisions. And a few of the other counties took care of some business too this weekend with some real fast swimming. Northville had a great meet, and we're at that point of the season to get a few of the big invites in. MISCA meet coming up, and we're about 4 weeks out of league meet. So a few big meets the next few weeks, and then right into league meet and state meet.
That's right. So everybody's super excited. All that hard work now starting to pay off as you've got some of the championship meets and things of that nature for everyone to participate in and see how they do. And it's always great when you get those state cuts, get those out of the way so that you can focus on definitely helping your team progress and advance through league play and all of it. So, all right, so stick with us. First off, I do want to just get in our sponsor information because wouldn't be doing it without them. Poolside is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Lawrence Tech wants you to recruit yourself. Just go to l2athletics.com and click on the Recruit Yourself link. Academic and athletic scholarships are available in over 24 sports, and they don't have swimming yet. But I'm telling you that with 25 sports, I believe they have going now, varsity NAIA sports, I would imagine swimming is right around the corner. But, just stay tuned for that. Poolside also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics, and by the physical therapy and sports medicine professionals with the Detroit Medical Center. Our Game Changer segments are back. Check our YouTube playlist by searching State Champs TV, or just go to our website, statechampsnetwork.com. Great insight on training tips and a whole lot more. And if you need immediate care, if you're injured, just simply go to dmc.org/gamechangers, and they will get you in. All right, David, so let's get right into it. And you provided me with some notes, but I'll let you kind of direct the conversation when we're talking about the Division I state finals that will be coming up. What are some of the things that, as of this point, people will be considered really strong contenders?
Well, I certainly think Pioneer. The last 2 years, they took second in a real close meet a few years ago, and you saw the depth and the just the youth coming up out of their team, and they're definitely showing it this season. Haven't seen a lot of their times on our site that we record our times on SwimCloud, but I know everybody's been saying a lot of great things, and the times we do have are showing that not only do they have the speed up top, in those top spots, but they also have the depth, and they're going to be scoring 2-3 girls in an event. So they're looking real good out front. But we've had some really exciting dual meets this year. Two teams that are in the top 10 right now. Northville and Brighton swam to a tie last week. And, another group of teams, as I'm looking down these top times lists, Northville's got, an Emily Roden, who's, top spot in the fly in the IM. But then you start scrolling down and you're seeing 2 girls and 3 girls in these events. And that's going to be huge when it comes to state meet. To be able to score, kids 1st through 16th, that's going to be really important for them. And Northville's been doing a heck of a job, early on here. The big surprise, and I wouldn't say a surprise. Mercy's doing some awesome stuff every year. They got a strong tradition. They got just a great swimming, history at that school. But Oakland County this weekend, they just swam lights out. Girls in the first heat all the way to the last heat, dropping time, getting state cuts. And I think they set themselves up really nicely for the next few weeks here to get ready for what should be an exciting Catholic League meet with Marion. And then they'll turn around and get ready for the D1 state meet.
They are the Marlins, right? So
they are. It's in the name, right? It's in the name. Yeah, right. So, a lot of your top teams coming out of the east side of the state, but Grand Haven been doing some terrific stuff out on the west side and putting up some really nice top times. But yeah, when it comes to the team stuff, you're going to see your Mercy climbing up there, Pioneers out there, Northfield, Brighton. I think those are your big ones as we head into the end of the season here.
Okay. And I know that there are some individuals that some people will be excited to see. Obviously, they, have had success in the past and are ready to get back out there and take on all challengers.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got your team, fighting it out, your team challenge at the top there. But there's a lot of real strong individuals coming from some of the, smaller D1 schools. Okay. Look at Sophie Curtis out of Grand Blanc. She's got the top time in the 200 and the 100 free right now across the state. Mm-hmm. And then she's like top 5 or top 6 in all the freestyle events. And, it's going to help their relays. They might not be a team fighting it out for a trophy, but this is a team you might see sneak into the top 10. And they're just doing some great stuff up there. So she's been a great one. And the one that you and I talked about a little bit that I think really needs to be mentioned here is Mackenzie Soroki out of Livonia Stevenson. Top time in the breaststroke, defending state champ in the breaststroke. And she just signed to play hockey at Minnesota Duluth this year. So when we look at, these well-rounded athletes playing multiple sports, embracing all the great stuff in high school, this lady's doing it. I mean, she's taking care of business in the water and then on the ice. So I guess she enjoys the frozen version and the liquid version as well. She's doing great for us. So those have been some real surprising individuals that we've been watching all season.
All right. Well, those dual sport athletes are more and more prevalent now. And they seem to excel at no matter what they do, just with work ethic and all. And I would imagine she might be one of those that when it comes to the Detroit Athletic Club nominees for Female Athlete of the Year, she's one that we're probably going to have to consider. There's always swimmers in the mix. And 9 times out of 10, at least one swimming finalist, if not multiple. So, sure. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Absolutely. Some other ones that they're looking really good. Steve Boyer's doing an awesome job out of Holland, West Ottawa. Again, a team that's, climbed up the rankings the last few years. They're sitting in the bottom of the top 10. But again, a lot of depth. And then Rockford too. They got a couple swimmers up there, top 5. But I think you're going to see some great stuff at league meet. They're going to be able to score 3 relays, hopefully. And you're going to see these teams making their mark. And then, another one from Oakland County this past weekend was Novi. They had top sprinter. They also had a great 500 freestyler, a team that's sitting there like 6th to 10th. But I think you're going to see some real good swims out of them. They do a great job over there. And Ken Stark's been, getting those girls ready the last few years. So yeah, watch out for some of those teams to climb up here the next few weeks.
All right. Outstanding. I think when future episodes or in the near future, we'll talk about Division II, we'll talk about Division III and some of the names and teams that you need to know as we get ready for the big stretch run here of the swim season. So David's going to be back to discuss some of the underdogs, maybe some sleepers who might be making some waves at this year's D1 state finals. But first, it's time for an interview I did with DMC physician Dr. Britta Anderson. Check this out. All right, well, joining us today to talk about common swimming injuries is DMC primary care sports medicine physician Britta Anderson. Now, as a primary care sports medicine physician, Dr. Anderson manages non-operative musculoskeletal issues for adolescents and adults. She is also team physician for the Detroit Tigers. She specializes in non-orthopedic medicine, focusing on interventional procedures, injury prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation. All that meaning she's good at her job. And we're happy that you are here to speak to our audience. Now, our audience for this particular show is swimming and swimmers. And so our podcast, delves across everything happening in the swimming world here in the state of Michigan, the high school swimming world. And obviously a very rigorous sport, and sometimes we do see injuries. And this is kind of the part of the season where they've been grinding it out for 6 to 7 weeks, and they're now getting ready for the stretch run and need to try and stay as healthy as they can so that they can perform the best they can. But injuries do occur. So let's kind of get into that. So first off, what are some of the common injuries that you see in swimmers?
Probably the most common area of the body that we'll see would be, shoulder problems, either in the front part of the back part of the shoulder. But it's not uncommon to see other issues in the spine, low back, hip, knee, and ankle. But typically, like shoulder impingement, rotator cuff issues. Swimming requires repetitive motion through certain joints, and with that repetition comes overload, and then sometimes even an acute injury or strain that can bring a problem to and around the shoulder, just to be specific. So I would say, in my experience, 80% of it will be upper extremity, that being shoulder, arm issues. But again, it's not uncommon to see other body parts be injured.
Sure, and it's the kind of sport where you are doing the same thing over and over, and you're doing it every day, and so exactly. A lot of times your muscles can be overworked, and so what do you think are some of the the methods and some of the habits that swimmers can get into to try and prevent those overuse injuries?
Yep. I think, preventative wise, I think it's always important, and this hopefully is taught from a young age through the development of their athletic career with swimming, but proper stroke technique, working with a coach or a family member if they're swimmers themselves, to make sure that they're doing things correctly. If you do things incorrectly and you do that repetitively, obviously that's going to lead to a problem. So making sure, not only in the water are they training, keeping track of volume, what type of strokes, maybe keeping adding variability to the different strokes, even if they primarily are freestyle swimmers, to use variety just to keep the body guessing a little bit, so they're not just constantly pounding certain body parts, but making sure that their core muscle structures are balanced. When I say core, specifically to the shoulder, for example, the rotator cuff and the shoulder blade muscles, or the scapular muscles in the back, all keep that shoulder in alignment through an arc of motion. And so if there's any subtle imbalance in time, there will be breakdown. So I think, preseason, postseason, and in-season training, both in and out of the water, all of those things can definitely help in preventing, hopefully, some kind of injury, whether that be acute or an overuse type injury. I think too, though, proper diet, nutrition, sleep, all of those things come into play. And then to also keep in mind that in these younger individuals in their early teens into late teens and early adulthood, the body's changing. They're demanding more of their body. They're getting stronger. They're putting more hours on. Hormonal changes, men versus women. I think all those things can come into play when developing injury, whether that be acute or chronic.
Right. And yeah, they're developing. Everything is still growing. And obviously injuries do occur. You would hope that you don't have a situation where a swimmer has to have surgery for any reason. But I'm sure as, the treatment has evolved, there's a lot that can be done without having to resort to that.
Exactly. As a primary care sports physician, I don't do orthopedic surgery. My job is to keep patients away from the surgeons. Right. But, if and when that case comes up, we refer them and we hopefully get them to the right doctor for the right treatments. The biggest thing is with athletes in general, staying specific to swimming, is that if there is an issue, that they address that with coach or family so that it can be addressed in the office. Obviously, coming in to be seen by a sports physician, it would be the great first step. Sometimes in a pinch, just depending on the hour a day, going to an urgent care or emergency room for things that seem to be more acute and, pain is a primary issue where the patient's really uncomfortable, then they should go be seen emergently. But then coming in to see a non-operative orthopedic specialist would be ideal. Usually we'll get, radiographs or some kind of diagnostic workup, obviously a good sport-specific physical examination, and then usually initiating some form of physical therapy, again, so that we can have a more hands-on approach, look for any core deficiencies in the joint, whether that be shoulder, back, or lower extremity, and then addressing that. Sometimes, we have to get a little more aggressive. We may consider interventional type procedures, injections for both diagnostic and therapeutic purposes. I think we're more aggressive with that based on age and obviously injury. Different pain reliever medications, although not promoted long-term, but in the short term to make a patient comfortable so that they can rehab better. But there are a whole slew of modalities that can be done in physical therapy, exercises that can be performed at home under the guidance of a family member if the patient's young, or even the weekend warrior who swims or competes in triathlons and whatnot. So there are plenty of conservative options before we have to get aggressive. But if and when it comes to, we can do a proper workup so that we know what's going on and we can definitively, correct it.
Yeah. Yes. And it's like injuries, especially for the young athlete, they're devastating, because especially if they haven't gone through it before. So, instantly they panic. And here's the great thing about the experience that I've had working with the DMC sports medicine and physical therapy pros is that, you guys do work such, you have such great teamwork, with the physicians, with the physical therapists, and everyone involved that is ready to take your individual case and give you your best options moving forward. So, but there are times, especially at this point in the season, where, they feel like they're injured and they really don't understand if it is just a soreness issue or if it's, something more serious. So when would for those, who are on the fence, when would you recommend they see a sports medicine professional?
Typically, as most swimmers, they've been swimming for a long time. They'll have a good background in athletics, and some may be new to the sport, and that's totally fine. I think the reality is that if pain seems out of proportion to what is normal pain for you from working out, muscle soreness, expecting, fatigue or muscle pain for 24 hours. If things are extending beyond 48 hours and you feel like it's inhibiting your quality of life in any means where it's in the back of your mind and you're just unsure, I think you got to trust your gut, and there's no harm in being evaluated, even if it's a minor issue that can resolve itself within a week or so. Honestly, why wait and put yourself through that when you can be assessed and be reassured? I think, that obviously you want to physically feel better, but you also want to mentally feel confident in, that you're correct about there being an issue versus, a mild non-issue. So to me, I've always in my personal experience said to myself, if I'm stringing together 3-4 days of pain and it's just not normal pain, you're not noticing a recovery, within 24, 48, 72 hours, then you should probably be seen for it just to be checked.
Yeah. And I would imagine there's probably nothing more satisfying to you than having a young athlete in your office and you saying, hey, this is fine. It's not that bad. This is just, I'm glad you came to see me, but I can tell you that, this is something that we can treat very easily and seeing the relief on their face. But when there is an injury, when it is something that is clear, I guess a lot of them, and parents out there, especially parents who have athletes, now at the high school level, and maybe they were, not as serious before, and maybe they haven't dealt with an injury before. Should they go to a sports medicine physician first?
I would say yes. I think you definitely, if anything, like I said, you want to be seen by somebody, and if too much time passes. I would say, through the DMC in particular, we kind of pride ourselves in at least getting a patient in to be seen and treated, hopefully within 24 or 48 hours. You shouldn't have to wait any longer than that. But in any case, even touching base with your primary care doctor just for some form of reassurance if there's any kind of delay. But in most cases, really, you should see some form of orthopedic or sports medicine specialist. You will find that the non-operative physicians, especially if you don't think that you need surgery for the issue, are a great place to start. We are well trained in musculoskeletal care. We spend a lot of time understanding the conservative side of management of injury, so we can provide many different avenues. And again, if anything is more serious, we can streamline patients, to the right physician or right treatment, right diagnostic test need be without much, if at all, downtime. So most definitely, when in doubt, you should definitely see somebody. I mean, I've been an athlete my whole life. I've had numerous knee surgeries, and I can tell you in my younger years, especially when you felt like time was so important, you had aspirations to play, participate in college or whatever. I mean, you don't want to sit on something and not say something about it. And I think it's important for parents to be aware of that. I think for athletes to understand it's okay to say something if you just don't feel like, something's right about your body as far as your performance, anything like that. Address those issues, and who better than an orthopedic sports medicine specialist to talk to about that.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, listen up, kids. So, you're probably, thinking about what it is that maybe you want to do with your life. So, you as an athlete for most of your life, what was it that really drew you to wanting to become a sports medicine physician?
Yeah, I definitely think my athletic career led me to becoming a sports physician, orthopedic physician in general. I grew up playing basketball and soccer. I've tore both my ACLs. I've, had spinal fusion from an old injury in my neck. And I think those personal experiences definitely, pointed me in that direction. The one orthopedic surgeon I worked with for years finally convinced me. He's like, I played basketball at Wayne State, so I, had a few knee surgeries there, and the team physician there was like, you have to go into medicine. Like, you live in the training room, so you might as well do it. And I was passionate about it. I mean, I'm passionate about sports. I'm passionate about exercise and the health and well-being, whether it's competitive or just for the overall health of the individual. I think it's just so important. Function's important. And when your quality of life is impacted negatively, it impacts everything about your life. So I think it's definitely been a passion of mine. And unfortunately, personal experience, led me that way. But I think it makes for a good physician. I've seen many kids come through here that were, my age when they kind of had issues, and some of them, I can see them going through the same path and process. So you just have to be passionate about it. And, it worked for me. Thank goodness I have a career now in orthopedics. I can relate. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. And, exactly. And when they're there, you can say, hey, I've been through this, so you're not alone here in this. And I can feel your pain, as it were, and you're going to help them get better. So, I appreciate you, Dr. Anderson, for coming on today. We really do.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, hey guys, if you have a sports injury, go where the pros go. DMC Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. To make an appointment, call 313-243-7924 or visit dmc.org/gamechangers. All right, I want to thank Dr. Anderson for her insight and hopefully some good information there to help you swimmers out on staying healthy. That's the most important thing that you can do right now, as well as getting your sleep and eating right and making sure that you're listening to your coach. But other than that, we appreciate that, and thank you so much. So David is back with us. And David, every year, especially because in a sport like swimming, and we see this in some of the track sports as well, and cross country, where, maybe you've got some young, people who have, jumped into the fray, and all of a sudden, they make waves at the state finals, or it's someone who is just, finally everything just comes together and they do some outstanding things. Just if if you can think of, some possible surprises that we might see at the D1 state finals.
Yeah, for sure. I think somebody like a Plymouth with Brady Kendall, she did a wonderful job last year at state meet. A team that's going to get a couple relays in. You got an individual that can contend and possibly win an individual event. It's going to give them quite a few points. They're going to jump up. And right next door on the same campus, Ed Weber and the girls at Canton are just doing a terrific job. Again, they might not have girls up at the top, but you're going to get a few state qualifiers in there. And if they can score, 2 or 3 of their relays, they're gonna be a presence, at state meet for us. As we talked about with Mackenzie and the breaststroke, her swim last year for Livonia Stevenson was huge. The last individual event of the day at state meet, but then also their medley relay, really, really strong. And right now, we're seeing that, both those teams, that Canton team, that Livonia team, kind of like that 10th, 11th, 12th place. But with those couple of swimmers, if they can jump up there and take care of business, you're going to see some really fast swimming, and you're going to see the team scores climb. As I said earlier, Grand Blanc, you've got a really strong individual swimmer and a couple relays. They're going to jump up there. I'm going to take a quick second. My 100 freestyler, Brooke Thompson, third fastest time in the state right now. Our 4 free relay is 3 out of the 4 girls are returning, and we put together a real nice medley relay. So, for the hard work we're putting in every day, I hope the best for our girls. I think they're poised, and we got a lot of good experience coming back. And outside of that, I think you're going to see some real nice swims. Like I said, Steve Boyer out of Holland, West Ottawa. Girls are going to drop some crazy time. They're going to do some awesome stuff. In Brighton, just a few years ago, they were contending with Mercy for a state title, and they continue to bring home, a 3rd or 4th place trophy, and just a, great swimming community out there. They're working hard, year-round swimmers, and I think you'll see their team climb here a little bit as well. They're sitting like 3rd, 4th in our teams list, but they could have a couple sleepers climbing up. And then, a alumni friend of mine, Todd Brunny, Eastern Michigan athlete, he year after year does some great stuff at Saline, and they're sitting middle of that pack, like 8th, 9th, 10th. And Todd gets the best out of those athletes, and if they can score 3 relays, I think you're going to see some fun team scores and a lot of close scores at state meet this year.
I'll put you on the spot too for one other thing, because something that it seems like at some point, things gotta even out, and maybe records don't get broken. It seems like for the last few years, like just records like crazy just going. It's like, how do they get any faster? But you, in your experience of what you've seen, do you feel like there are going to be pool records, there are going to be division records, maybe all-time records set this year?
Anything can happen with the next few weeks. I think we're seeing a little bit of that COVID haze or lag from not having all the training behind us.
Right.
But these top end athletes, they've really been competing, and they've been training year round. And we've heard stories of last year kids were in lakes and rivers and doing anything they could. So it's definitely there. I'd say we're a little bit, I don't want to say down. We're a little bit back from the where we would see a normal year, but watch out. Anything's going to happen. You put those speed suits on, you get a good shave and a great taper, and finally a normal season that's not maybe ending next week or maybe ending in January.
Right.
I think you're going to see some awesome stuff. So I don't want to say no, but right now, like I said, just a little bit still coming back from COVID. But I think COVID surprised us last year with all the fast swimming we had in January. So watch out. These kids are incredible.
Yeah, and it's always that's what I love about day one. At the state finals, that Friday is always great because all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, like these particular individuals or these teams are just tearing it up, and they may be, look out. You'll be on record watch. So, all right. Well, you know what? That is our show this week, everybody. Remember, you can watch either watch or listen to the Poolside Podcast. Videos uploaded weekly on our website, social media, and YouTube channel, or you can listen to the audio podcast by going to the platform of your choice. So whether you have Apple or SoundCloud or, Google Play, Spreaker, whatever. The show is uploaded on Fridays, so just look for the premieres to come out every Friday. I want to thank our sponsors, Lawrence Technological University, the MHSAA, the Detroit Medical Center. Thanks again to Dr. Britta Anderson. So for David, I'm Lorne, and we will see you next week.